And we're off. We are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Live post-game breakdown of this Dolphins' latest game. 27-24 loss against the Carolina Panthers in a game that looked early on as though it was going to be a Dolphins rout. In fact, I put something on social media. Please don't blame me. I react to what's going on at the moment. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. I think my tweet was something along the lines like the Dolphins are looking like a good team that's supposed to do to a bad team, what good teams do to a bad team, something along those lines. And of course, it went south, badly south. Dolphins losing, falling to 1-4. This is a live post-game breakdown. Dante, Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins and SI, is joining me as we do the autopsy, the postmortem of this latest bad performance. I made the point that this may be the worst of all this season, maybe even worse than the opener against the Colts.
I agree. I almost said like new worst loss of the McDaniel era was almost my tweet when the clock went to zero because this is just inexcusable. It is. If you consider yourself to be a serious football team, this is just an inexcusable loss. You know, you came out in Indianapolis, you laid an egg the entire way. You were never winning that football game. You came out completely flat. Not great, but okay, sure. You're up 17-0. The Panthers are DOA. They are missing a ton of their best players due to injury. They do not have a ton of talent. They're a rebuilding football team. I think Bryce Young had a gutsy performance, but I think he left points on the field, frankly, throughout the game. And you lose. And you were up 17-0. It's just unacceptable. It's inexcusable, unacceptable. I don't know how else to better put it. It's just all around. I don't even like... I said this to you before the show starts. I don't know where to start because you could go to any portion of the team and individual players and coaches and all of that, and you have a bone to pick with everybody. It's just a total systematic failure in the second half, and you drop a game that you were up 17-0 against a really bad football team.
Yep. And before we go on, thanks everyone for joining us. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're up to 17,000. The vow remains the same. I get to 20,000 subscribers. There will be a Dolphin hat and a Dolphin jersey. Probably maybe not the best time to promote that because maybe folks are like, hell no, we don't want to have anything to do with Dolphin jerseys. But this is still the team I cover. This is still the team you root for, I imagine, if you're watching this. Here's the thing, too, is and the margin for error between winning and losing in the NFL is such. You tell me the game doesn't turn out completely different if on that fourth down play around midfield in the second quarter when the Dolphins are up 17-0 and Jalen Phillips gets to Bryce Young like that, Bryce Young escapes to the right side. He's got four guys around him, keeps the play alive, and eventually finds Ted McMillan, who's a really good player, by the way, for like a 20-yard gain, keeps the drive alive. All of a sudden, it's 17-7. If that play becomes an incomplete pass or a sack, whatever, which by probability it should have been, Dolphins get the ball around midfield. They're up 17-0, and they haven't been stopped to that point. And
yeah,
and I understand woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all that. And then one of the great mysteries of this game is all of a sudden is a Dolphin offense. First three drives, it's field goal, touchdown, and then zip until that quick drive at the end after they got down 24-20 or no 2017 when Waddle caught Michael Jackson flat-footed or whatever he was thinking and then got open by 10 yards and could wait for the pass from Tua. No, that wasn't a gratuitous shot at Tua because as I told Dante before the show, Tua was very, very effective pretty much the entire game. That throw was underthrown, but Waddle was so wide open. Didn't matter. The one throw that he'd like to have back that was really, really bad and crucial came on the Dolphins' last drive on the second down when he has Waddle wide open for 15-yard gain.
And at least, he had room to run if he caught it.
And he sailed it. His feet weren't set properly. He said, no, that wasn't pressure. The offensive line, again, was bad. There's no way around it. And Jonas Savaiinaia, dude, get your shit in gear. At some point, it needs to get better. But on that play, no, he just didn't take the time to set his feet. There was no pressure. It's a bad sail, and Dolphins wound up 3-and-out punting.
If Waddle didn't tip it, it would have been an interception. It would have. The guy was standing right there. He almost picked it anyway when Waddle tipped it. If it just sailed right over Waddle, it would have been a pick. And I think, it was a total disaster class by Tua. He misses Waddle, who's wide open. That's a Dolphins bread and butter concept. That's the classic bang eight slant into the middle of the field. They run that like clockwork. That's the play. That's the route that the whole offense was built off of. 2022, 2023. They haven't been able to get to it, and Tua has been inconsistent hitting it this year. It's a similar play that he sailed against the Patriots, and he sailed early against the Colts that resulted in a pick. It's roughly the same route, the same play, the same concept, the same problem. And then look, I don't know. Maybe the offensive line got beat a little bit too early on the third down play. You can't take a sack there. I'm sorry, it's inexcusable. You can't. You can't.
Yeah. I don't want to.
You can't take a sack there. You can't. I'm not doing that. You can't take a sack. Ball's got to come out. You got to throw up a 50-50 ball, do something. I'm sorry. You're not mobile. You can't trust yourself to create. You got to get the ball out. I'm not having it. You can't take a sack there.
If there's nobody open, I mean, it's like you can't throw it to another team.
You got to throw it up. You got to throw it up. That's the game. That's it. There's no. I'm sorry. You can blame the offensive line and Tua. That's fine. I'm not absolving the offensive line of blame. You can't take a sack there. You can't. And then I cannot believe they punted. No. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. You haven't stopped them all day on the ground. You know they're going to run three, and I know results.
And yet they got the first down on the DPI.
Right, and they got the first down on DPI. I get it, but process-wise, that's a terrible coaching decision to punt the ball there. I don't care if you have 3 timeouts, and they let the clock run. They could have stopped it immediately. I'm sorry. That was just a 4-play disaster class from the Dolphins. I'm not. I think Tua had a good game before that. I thought he looked the best that he looked all season, but that sequence to me was brutal. It was terrible.
Okay. See now Dante is a Tua hater, not me. Because the third down sack was tough because they got to him pretty quick. The pocket was compromised. Almost immediately, and it came from the left side again, which is Jonah's side and Patrick Paul's side. I didn't detect immediately who was breached, whose position was breached, but it happened very, very quickly. I don't know that he had much of a shot, and I can see your point considering they hadn't stopped Carolina at all. Fourth and 17, the odds not great either way. And by the way, for those I saw that in the comments before. And by the way, we'll get to the comments around the 20-30 minute mark as we always do here because. As I mentioned on Twitter, this is our therapy session here. Guys, vent away. This is the time to do it. You have sympathetic ears over here. The issue of not calling a timeout, the Dolphins once where they're playing Carolina got a first down. Didn't matter at that point. It was going to be kneel downs anyway. So, unless you're hoping that one of the snaps goes awry and recover a fumble that way, sure, by all means, you can go ahead and call it, but you're not getting the ball back anyway. And the DPI is like, sorry, Jack Jones, but you can't grab the guy's jersey like this in the open.
He got away with one early in the game. That was a penalty, and they picked it up. And I think Jack's been okay this year, but that's the style of corner that he is. He grabs. He's very physical. He's very aggressive. You're going to live and die with those plays. But to me, I think the Dolphins had a better chance of converting 4th and 17 they did of stopping the Panthers on 3 straight plays. I don't know.
No, that's debatable.
I agree. Yeah.
It wasn't ideal either way, and then they got put like in a really. It's to me the play of that the play of that drive that killed it was the second down pass to Waddle. That's like
no argument.
And again, this is not a knock because overall, Tua had a good performance. It's not going to be reflected because there's some in the South Florida media who know who they are, who are going to look at it was a 122 passer rating. Again, it doesn't tell the whole story. The other part of it is I understand to a certain degree, and I need to watch the all 22 to see what Carolina did. But how does Darren Waller not get a single target in the second half? As in 0. I know Mike McDaniel after the game said it was basically Carolina's coverage was dictating some of it. Then throw him a tight end screen or something. Get the ball in his hands. Seriously. And he's not always. I understand he's not a yak guy the way Johnny Smith was last year. Waller's game is to find open seams and also make the high point tough catches because of his catch radius. But you're going to tell me that not once you could scheme something up for him like an easy catch. I don't know.
I'll be curious to see what the snap count split was between the first and the second half because I know that they have been very deliberate about how they're managing him. And so far as I wonder if he had a lot of snaps in the first half and they were like, okay, well, you're at your limit we set for this game at a certain point, because I feel like I didn't see him much in the third quarter, at least the beginning.
No, I agree.
First couple drives, right? So I wonder if that's a factor. I don't know. I don't know what the snap counts are yet. They don't come out till tomorrow, so we can get a better look at that. But I'm with you though. I think you kind of need to have a feel for the game if you're Mike McDaniel in that scenario, and you're 1-3. I think you maybe try to push Darren Waller for 5 more reps, especially if, like you said, you're designing him touches. So you're not just putting him out there with the idea that he's just there to be there, right? You're putting him out there with the idea that he's going to get the football. And so disappointing to see him come out like that and really just not be a factor at all in the game after the first quarter, really, right? Because he had his touchdown in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
No, touchdown was in the second quarter.
Was in the second? Okay. So I don't know. I'm with you. Very strange.
And this is where I need to mention, guys, that Waller remains on the injury report every week with the hip. He's limited in practice all the time. He hasn't had a full practice yet per the official injury report. So is that a factor in him not being able to get more snaps? Who knows? Jalen Waddle, hats off to him. Great performance. Again, this is where he made plays to keep possessions alive, and he made the big play over the top. So very good. So, yes, he thrived exactly how you want him to thrive with Tyreek Hill no longer in the offense. I mentioned as an offshoot of Tyreek not being there is you're going to see defenses not play nearly as loose off the snap as they did before, because even though Waddle can get over the top, he doesn't instill the kind of fear Tyreek does. And maybe that's part of what happened with the running game, which was absolutely the worst it's been all year. And is it a coincidence since in the first game that Tyreek doesn't play? And I get the offensive line wasn't good. It's not like the offensive line has been like great or stellar in any other game so far this season.
Yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see what the film says about the running game too, because off the broadcast, I mean, I just thought the offensive line wasn't moving anybody. Like it just, I'm not saying that the Tyreek Hill thing isn't a factor. Right? I have to see what the Panthers looked like pre-snap, post-snap, all those things. It could have been right. They could have dropped more guys into the box. We'll see what it looks like, but just up front, I mean, I thought the Dolphins got bullied up front. They got bullied, pushed around. The Panthers linebackers were shooting gaps really effectively. Roseboom got downhill a couple times and got I think he had at least one TFL, and he had a couple tackles near the line too for minimal gains. And you're not creating any holes. You're not making anybody miss. If you're Devon Achane, I don't want to completely absolve him for blame. Usually when the running game's bad, it's a combination of the backs and the line. I really like Devon Achane, though. I think he's a very talented player. I didn't see a ton of space for him today. We'll see what the film says, but just a total systematic failure of that group. I mean, just completely bullied by a Panthers defensive line. And look, I like Derek Brown. Derek Brown's a good football player. He is really good. Them other guys, I don't feel very good about that. You know, they're young players, unproven players that you can move off the ball, players you should be moving off the ball if you're the Dolphins, who generally speaking have had an okay running game efficiency wise this year. They had that kind of start to the year where they couldn't run the ball because they were trying to climb out of 21-point holes. But efficiency wise, this team can run the football. Yep. They could not today. And to me, they just got bullied up front. And that can't happen against the Panthers. As good as a player that I think Derek Brown is, there are other avenues that you can get to run the football, and the Dolphins couldn't get to anything today. I mean, the Panthers just completely trounced them in the running game department. And that's where you lost the game.
Where you lost the game, or you lost the game because you couldn't stop the run?
Well, that's what I meant. The Panthers trounced them in the running game department.
Mike McDaniel mentioned that in his post-game press conference. He's talking about like getting killed at the line of scrimmage in both ends. And again, I don't want to harp on the guy, but and I hate to do this 4 games into a career, and it's like Kenneth Grant at defensive tackle. It's borderline depressing, especially when you see what Tyler Warren's doing with the Colts, which is a little bit mitigated by what Darren Waller's brought the last 2 weeks. But overall, the guy looks like he's going to be a complete stud for 10 years. And in the second round, you traded up, gave away, draft assets to get Jonas Savaiinaea, and right now he's not an NFL starter caliber, if we're going to be honest about it. I mean, he's on the lineup because A, there's no other options, and B, because he's your rookie second round pick, but it's not good. And again, all I can go back to is it's only 4 games into his career, so I'm not going to certainly give up on on either of those guys so far, but so far it's not been good, which brings us, and then go back to Kenneth Grant. There was one play on a very long, one of many Rico Dowdle runs where he had a shot at the line of scrimmage, wasn't in perfect position, but Dowdle ran through the tackle and boom, 40 more yards. Then again, the dude ran for over 200 yards. This is the backup running back. He's a good backup running back, but he's still a backup running back, and he ran for 200 yards. I mean, it's bad.
He just big boyed the defense. I don't know how else to put it. Like I think like people when they look at run, and I think you and I talked about this in the post game show for the Jets, right? And people we had a question that was like, "Hey, what's wrong with the run game scheme? Why is the scheme bad?" Stopping the run is your big people need to beat up the other team's big people, man. And the Dolphins can't do it. They can't. They're soft. They're soft. They're still soft. That's what they are. Rico Dowdle ran through tackles like, they were going out of style. Ifeatu Melifonwu tried to cut him on the one block. He just bounced off him like a pinball. You got Jack Jones trying to punch the ball out instead of dragging him down. He gets another 15 yards into Dolphins territory. It was just the problem that I have, right, is like when we got done the Jets game, the Jets have really good run game personnel. That's a physical offensive line. Breece Hall is a good running back. Justin Fields is a pain in the butt to handle in the running game. Whatever you think of him as a passer, he's an insane athlete. Okay, so they gave a lot of rush yards to the Jets. They kind of figured some things out in the second half. Sure, cool, great. The Panthers don't have that stuff. Like you said, right. Rico Dowdle's a good running. He's fine. He's a good player. 1,000 yards for Dallas last year. Nothing wrong with the guy. I'm not trying to take a shot at him. Panthers' offensive line stinks. They're not good. They should not be beating you up like this. They should not. It's completely unacceptable to get pushed around to the tune of 239 yards on 32 attempts. That's 7.5 yards a carry.
Yep.
That's how that's absurd. That's ridiculous. And for the Dolphins, 19 rushing yards on 14 attempts, 1.4 yards per carry. It's embarrassing.
That includes a 5-yard scramble by Tua.
Even worse.
Yep.
Even worse. So we're looking at 14 yards from running backs in this game. And Ollie Gordon, if I remember correctly, had -2.
He did.
So this is not, you cannot get pushed around like they did against this team. If this was the Bills or whatever, it'd still be bad. But okay, the Bills are good. The Panthers do not have the facilities to be able to do this to you, and they just did. I don't know where you go from here.
I will say this also. I know there are a lot of fans who have been clamoring to see Willie Gay Jr. in the lineup, and I guess part of it is because of what you heard during training camp about all the plays he was making. All the plays he was making pretty much was in pass coverage, and it also was training camp. And he also made a couple of plays in the preseason as well. But there was one play which kind of illustrated maybe why he's not in the lineup, and it was a pitch to Dowdle to the right side where the right tackle completely basically got pushed Gay out of the screen, allowing for a very easy cutback. It's still into space for one of those long runs because the Dolphins they open with like a pure 4-3 with Chubb and Phillips as your de facto defensive ends, which is maybe not great because they're not built to be defense. They're really edge defenders, outside linebackers, what they are. And this is where I'm going to mention Bradley Chubb had another sack. The play where Bryce Young had a spastic moment and dropped the ball in front of him. That goes as a sack and a fumble recovery for Bradley. And now he's got 4 sacks on the season. And I'm here to tell you that with all the respect I can muster, the dude has not been good and even remotely good despite 4 sacks in 5 games. And Jalen Phillips, on the other hand, who has gotten close to the quarterback much more frequently than anybody on this roster so far this season, finally got one where he brought down Bryce Young. But against the run, there's not one player I can say that guy's doing a good job. Jordan Brooks may be the closest, but even at that, not even. And I don't know. It's like the personnel is not like horrible. I mean, it's like all of a sudden Zach Sealer's a deep player, Jordan Brooks is a deep player, all those guys like that. Nobody's playing well right now.
Yeah, that's probably the most troubling part to me is you look at this group and there's a ton of talent, right? It's not a talent problem. These guys have plenty of ability. Zach Sealer's been really bad this year. I don't really have a better way to put it. He made a couple splash plays against the Jets. He's been a no-show for the most part. His run defense has really taken a dip. We talked about Kenneth Grant. not playing good at all. The edges are getting blown into kingdom come off the ball anytime the team tries to stretch the run play out a little bit. Jordan Phillips is a one-gap player. He can only do so much, and he only plays like 20 snaps a game. Benito Jones isn't giving you anything off the bench. I've seen enough of Matthew Butler. I don't think he's giving you anything either. I don't know. I don't really know that there's any positives for the run defense at this point. There really isn't. The only thing I can think of is that they do have the talent, but at a certain point, do they? Like I don't know. Like maybe not.
You are where your record says you are. And by the way, for those who have asked, because I got this question on social media and for the mailbag I do on Miami Dolphins on SI.com, and I should mention this above and beyond anything else, check out the website, please. Miami Dolphins on SI.com. All the content is free, unlike every other outlet in South Florida. So by all means, check it out. Check out Dante's fine work, my respectable, passable work. And then you can do all that for free. But I was asked why Zeke Biggers is not getting a look. And my answer was, number one, just because he made 3 or 4 splash plays in training camp, and the media, again, because that's what we do, all of a sudden is ready to anoint him as look out. This guy's going to be a 7th round steal. Once the regular season starts. Speaking of stops and starts, once the regular season starts, we're no longer allowed to watch practice beyond the 3rd period, which is basically just throwing passing drills and position drills around the field. So we don't get to see what Zeke Biggers is doing during those practices.
I'm at the point where I would like to see him just for the sake of it.
Sure, for spits and giggles.
Yeah, like I've seen enough of Benito Jones and Matthew Butler. Those depth reps can go to Zeke Biggers. You got to leave Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips out there because you need those guys to develop. But like, I've seen enough of Matthew Butler. I've seen enough of Benito Jones. I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to do this, but I would.
Okay, no, but here's the point, though, is we don't know what they're seeing in practice. Is maybe
we don't.
It's not really, it's not good, and they're like, this is where I defer. Unless I see with my own eyes, I'm going to defer that they know what they're doing. And this is where guys be nice with the comments there. They watch closely. They know what they're looking for, and they're also not getting just for example, I had some folks in all walks of life telling me, well, watch, this is Tyreek being gone is an opportunity for Taj Washington. I'm like, you mean the guy who was inactive for the first 4 games? Why all of a sudden are we thinking he's going to be like a big factor on offense? And guess what? He wasn't. So he was active, and I saw him on the field very, very early on offense. I don't know if I saw him ever again. So, again, this is not – sorry?
It should have been a big opportunity for Malik Washington. The wrong Washington. It should have been.
But
4 catches, 0 yards.
But again, that's what he's been since he's been here with the Dolphins. And I actually fell prey to that because I mentioned him as somebody who I figure would get more targets, but it's like that's what he's been with the Dolphins. He's kind of a utility type of player, catches passes. Pretty much all of them are around the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
He'll run the ball. It could be a shovel pass, and he'll return kicks. But as far as getting a lot of catches down the field, we haven't seen a lot of those. And part of it is, again, he's not necessarily a burner.
Yeah, I mean, I just assumed that the wide receiver 2 on the depth chart would get some real routes. That would just be, I understand that he's a manufactured touch guy, and I don't think you want to take that away from him because that's what he does well. But I hate to pull a preseason thing here, but like he can run real routes, right? Like regardless of the level of competition, I think you saw the rapport that he has with Tua and the timing that those two have against the Bears in the preseason. I think that is something that you can use more of. I'm not expecting Malik Washington to be some high volume savant, but I think you can give him a couple routes downfield where he doesn't leave the game with 4 catches for 0 yards.
Fair, but again, if those targets are going to go to Waller and Waddle more often than not when you go down the field. And there were a couple to Julian Hill. I really was intrigued by that wheel route to Julian Hill in the corner of the end zone. That's like
Alec Ingold drop. That was
I know
early game 25, 30-yard completion.
I know.
Why are we targeting Alec Ingold 15 yards down the field? I like Alec Ingold. Good football player. I don't want no more Alec Ingold targets. Enough. There's been like 10 of them this year. Enough. I'm sorry. Unless it's at the line of scrimmage, I don't want to see it.
Okay, but again, the passing game wasn't necessarily the issue. That hiccup
No.
on the final drive aside, the issue again remains the run defense is an absolute joke. The Dolphins won the turnover battle, but they got outgained by like about 200 yards. That's not going to get it done against a Carolina team that, I'm sorry, is not a good team. So where they go from here, that's going to be a topic for another podcast. With that, let's just go. Time to hear what you guys have to say, and I'm going to guess probably have a lot to say. So let's get cranking with our man Birthday Salami. Thank you very much for the contribution. The donation to the show, very much appreciated. Birthday says, where can I donate all these Weave 2025 shirts that I printed before the season? Panther Rush for over 200. This defense doesn't have holes. It is the hole, almost as big as the running lanes given up. Not one lie said this. It's kind of baffling. I was one of those, and I'm not gonna say I told you so, but I kind of sort of did that when certain members of the South Florida media contingent were like talking about this perhaps being one of the best front sevens in the NFL, and I was like, oh really? Cool. Yeah, not quite. Birthday Salami with a donation. Thank you very much. Are we getting an image of Jack Jones getting flat or Achane getting tackled in the backfield on the elevator? Oh, wow. For those not aware of the tradition, the Dolphins, when they win, Birthday Salami, when they win, put a big picture on their elevator door of one of the key moments, best photo from that game. Don't think there's going to be any photo. There's only been one photo on the elevator this year, and probably would have been, I didn't even see what it was, probably with Darren Waller, I would imagine.
They should put stairs in. Get rid of the elevator, make everyone walk up the stairs. That's where they're at right now. No more elevators. Everyone's got to take the stairs.
Harsh. Birthday Salami again. Thank you again, sir. McDaniel has zero counter when his offense stalls, and his QB is not a good improviser that can seal the deal. Forget a divorce. The team needs to be emancipated. Holy moly. Well, when the running game's not going anywhere, so I don't know what you're talking. When you mean by the zero counter when the offense stalls, do many teams have counters when the offense stalls? When you're trying to do is getting pushed back and neutralized? I don't know.
I'll be honest. I thought McDaniel threw a really good counter punch on the Waddle interception. That was a really well-designed, well-set up play call. They went into heavy set, went hard play action. They had multiple tight ends on the field. They had run out of that formation, and from that look a couple of times, they had set that play up a bit, and they got Jalen Waddle. Mike Jackson was looking in the backfield. Jalen Waddle just ran right by him for a touchdown. So I was critical of Mike, and I think you were allowed to be very critical of Mike given the output that this team's had this year. But I don't know that a lack of counter was necessarily the problem today. I think you just got beat to hell in the trenches, and you can't win football games that way on both sides of the ball. I don't know how much play calling is going to do for you if you can't create any space on the offensive line and you're not pressing the defensive line. On the defensive line, you're not getting any push the other way. The Panthers just ran right down your throat. They just beat you up.
No, and then this is where, of course, some folks are going to mention, well, of course, the Dolphins lost on the offensive line. They're missing James Daniels and Austin Jackson, who are on IR. By the way, they're eligible to come back for the game against the Chargers next Sunday. I don't know if either one is going to return to practice next week, but they are now eligible. And for those who are going to use that as an excuse or as a reason, the Cowboys were missing 4/5 of their offensive line today against the Jets, and they won with 37-22. So, again, you got to make injuries happen to everybody. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Baltimore Ravens were missing 7 guys who made the Pro Bowl over the last couple of years, and they got spanked by the Houston Texans. So, no, we got that one already. Trey Hendricks, thank you very much for the donation. Trey, is it time to bench Jonah S., or does it not matter considering the season is close to over? I don't know what you accomplished by benching Jonah right now. And again, who are you putting there right now? The Dolphins have 8 offensive linemen on the active roster. The 5 we started today, along with Keon Smith, Kendall Lamb, and you got to help me here. I'm drawing a blank. Daniel Brunskill. So I ask, who do you put instead of Jonah? Jonah's got to go through his growing pains. I don't think the Dolphins have a choice there.
Yeah, I think honestly losing actually incentivizes you to leave him in the game more, at least in my opinion, right? Because at this point, like, you're 1-4, or 1-4. Not a very good football team. The best you're trying to do right now is to keep some pride and develop some young players. Jonah needs to play to develop. It's not like Jonah isn't like non-athletic or like this is not Liam Eichenberg. He's just his technique's a mess. Like he just cannot like he can't land a punch. He's inconsistent in the running game. The only way you fix that is with reps. You can't fix that on the bench. He needs to get used to the speed of the NFL game and how defensive tackles are going to attack him. That comes with time. Liam had the opposite problem. His technique was like whatever, but he just was not an NFL starter athlete. I don't think Jonah has that problem. He can't get his hands on anybody, and that's not going to cut it. And I think the only way you fix that is just letting him ride it out and figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know which one's less ideal, though. You go into the NFL. And it's funny, though, because I remember Liam Eichenberg before that 2021 draft, and some pundits, I don't know where you were on him, but some pundits were calling him like maybe the most NFL-ready offensive lineman.
I don't know about all that. I wasn't quite that high.
But there were some. There were some.
I liked the pick. I was very wrong. I liked the pick, and I was wrong, and that happens.
And I was told by a guy who covers the Irish that's like, he's got no ceiling. He's got a very low ceiling, but he'll be fine. And as it turned out, not so great. And the ceiling is not great. No, and the play that was the play where he got beat by Derek Brown for the sack, it was like, and you see the replays. This is a pass set, and his first move is to move forward a little bit to his left, and Derek Brown just sidesteps him into like the big gap next to him. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he just overset. I don't know what I understand the jump forward. They call that a jump set. That's like a thing that they do. So like I get that, but he took like a whole like extra step to his left, and it was just like I'm not sure like if there was a protection slide. Like it doesn't really matter. He overstepped it either way. I'm not trying to absolve him of blame. That was a horrible block attempt, but like I'm just like confused as to like I'm trying to rationalize why something like that happens. Like, where are you going? Like what are you trying to accomplish here? And I don't know. I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole line was supposed to slide to the left and Aaron Brewer misses assignment for some reason. I doubt it because it kind of looked from the reaction that Jonah was like, oh, whoops. Okay, Matt. Oh, thank you very much for the donation, Matt. Very kind of you. I promise this isn't a call out to anyone who said it. Sure sounds like it's going to be, but what on earth did people see when they said this could be the best front seven in the league? This is the worst team I have seen since 2007. That wasn't me, Matt. I was like, can we let him play out first? And to me, it was like a whole bunch of question marks because starting with the rookies up front in the middle and your edge defenders who were coming off injuries. So immediate and the linebackers who are fine. Are they great? Are they difference makers? No. So anyway, worst team I've seen since 2007. Defensively, yeah. Right now,
I was about to say the defense, yeah. The offense, I don't think so, but the defense, yeah.
Yeah, the start of 2011 was really bad. The start of 2015, but it was the first three games, and they were very lackluster under Joe Philbin. So we shall see. But yeah, your point is completely well taken about the front seven. That it was like, again, Dolphins were a team heading into the season. This is why this applies to the entirety of the team. This was a team that entered the season with a whole bunch of question marks, much more so than all of your legit contenders in the NFL, where if most of the answers were positive, Dolphins could have a good season. And this was like, the offensive line going to hold up? Is Tua going to stay healthy? Is the cornerback position going to hold up? Are your offensive linemen going to stay healthy? Is the defensive line going to produce? Are the rookies going to make a difference? Are the edge defenders, can they go back to their previous form? And so far, the answers have been overwhelmingly negative. And there you stand at 1-4. LRD Bowser, I don't know if it's Lord Bowser. I don't know. Thank you very much for the donation. Who player or coach is worth keeping at this point? All yours, Dante. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, you're just going to drop that one on me. All right, well, I think Jalen Waddle's pretty good. I can keep him. I think Patrick Paul is a piece that maybe I'm thinking like big pieces. I'm not about to go down the entire roster and name like fringe guys that you can keep.
All 53 of them, you have to make a call.
God damn it. All right. And so like big pieces on offense. To me, it's like Waddle. I think Patrick Paul's a guy you keep. Aaron Brewer is a scheme-dependent player, but he has been good. So I would probably say keep him. I'd err on the side of keeping him. That might be
wow,
it.
you're stopping at 3.
Achan. I think you keep Achan. Achan, I almost forgot about Achan. I think you keep Achan. I'm excluding the entire rookie class. You keep those guys for the most part. You let them develop. Defensively, I would still keep Jordan Brooks. I think you keep Zach Sealer around, even if he's not the player that he was the past 2 years. I think you keep him around. I would like to say Jalen Phillips, but the contract, I'm not particularly sure I want to pay him a big contract, so that's a bit of a problem. Mm-hmm. There's not a single soul that I'm attached to in the secondary.
Not even Minka?
No, I mean, I would keep him if it's cheap, but I'm not trying to give him some big deal that he wants. I'm not trying to do that. He hasn't been that good this year. He's been all right. They're fine. I'd rather get younger. Yeah, he did have a nice pick today. That's true. I'd rather get younger at that position. I've seen enough of Ashton Davis. If he didn't play another snap this year, I'd be happy about that. Sorry. Yeah, no desire for any of the corners to stick around. Some of the young guys can stick to fill roster spots, but like to me, it's like Waddle, Paul, Achan on offense, and Brewer. And then on defense, it's like Jordan Brooks, Zach Sealer, maybe Jalen Phillips, and like the rookies just on both sides of the ball. That's where I would be.
No Chop?
Oh, Chop. Yeah. Definitely Chop. I forgot about Chop because he
doesn't
play that many snaps. But no, you definitely keep Chop. He's got a ton of potential. So like the rookie class, Zach Sealer, Jordan Brooks, Chop Robinson, pending contract Jalen Phillips, Achan, Waddle, Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer. That would be the core group for me.
Jake Bailey, the way he's punting, I would keep him also.
Okay, fair enough. Jason Sanders too. He's a good kicker.
Yeah, he's been injured, and Riley Patterson hasn't missed a kick yet. So, yeah, that's a good list. Yeah, that's a good list. Matt Fleming, thank you very much for the contribution donation. Guess it's all the way from England. Half full challenge. We know all the negs. We know Tua lacks an extra gearing the clutch, but top 3 things this game: best plays, best signs from rooks. Did we adjust to losing 10? Reasons for hope. Holy moly. We're going to have to do this rapid fire. Top 3 things this game. Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
2 takeaways. Jake Bailey's punting. Best plays, obviously the touchdown to Waddle. The punt down at the 2-yard line, even though that was lucky because that should have been a fair catch at the 20. Best signs from the rooks. When I see one, I'll let you know. We adjusted losing 10 in the passing game, yes. In the running game, no. Reasons for hope.
We're another day closer to death.
Thank you, Pink Floyd or real Mike McDaniel. The run defense can only get better. How's that for?
That's a good one.
I love that reference, by the way. I'm like a big Pink Floyd fan, so. XX Sanchez, thank you very much for the donation. Can we ask Mike when he's going to stop the bubble screen? It's not working. Well, we wouldn't phrase it quite like that. And if I were you, I'd kind of brace myself for the idea that it's not going to stop. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good answer. I already know what Mike's answer is because you guys asked him about it last year, and it's the same reason. It's an extension of the running game. When they can't run the football, they throw the bubble screens. That's what it is. We can sit here and debate whether or not that's a good idea, a bad idea, whatever. That's why they do it. When they can't run the football, they throw bubble screens. That's the answer, and that's the answer that Mike's going to give you if you ask him on Monday.
He will use a lot more words than you just did right there, though.
That's true.
Nick, thank you very much for the donation. Much appreciated. Brian Doherty, thank you very much for the donation, my friend. Very kind of you. Sad but relieved that change will be coming soon. Many in the media saw this coming. Gruden or Mike McCarthy. need an experienced coach, in my opinion. Be well. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not so sure the change is coming soon. By soon, you mean during the 2025 season? Not sure. Also understand that Stephen Ross, since he's been Dolphin owner, has hired first-time guys. He hired Tony Sperano. He hired Joe Philbin. He hired Adam Gase. He hired Brian Flores. He hired Mike McDaniel. All first-time head coaches. Stephen Ross's MO has been to go after the quote-unquote next down Shula. So the idea that he would go after a veteran head coach like John Gruden or Mike McCarthy, probably would say it's on the much lower side of 50-50.
I want to get out ahead of this, and someone can clip this and put it on Old Takes Exposed when it happens. But
Go for it.
I have absolutely no desire to see John Gruden coaching the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
None. Zero. I think it would be a terrible decision. So
I will.
You can put it on Old Takes Exposed when the Dolphins win the Super Bowl with John Gruden, and I will take credit for the reverse jinx.
Better yet, I will send you to the introductory press conference and play the clip in the background before.
There we go. I finally get down there, and that's my introduction.
Somebody threw out an interesting name. Is Jim Harbaugh's son is the special teams coach with the Seattle Seahawks. There's obviously the Michigan connection with Stephen Ross. There's been success with a Harbaugh who used to be a special teams coach, that being, of course, John Harbaugh. I'm just saying it.
Nah, dude. If we're hiring Harbaugh tree, it's Jesse Minter. Please, he's the defensive coordinator for the Chargers. Dude's been great since he got there. I'm not saying that Jesse Minter is high on my list, but if we're hiring a Harbaugh person, that's the only one I'm particularly interested in, frankly. So,
okay. And then we have, and then the other thing that we need to keep in mind is basically it's gone, especially recently, it's one extreme to the other in terms of personality and approach. You've gone from more players coach Adam Gase to disciplinarian Brian Flores to more players coach Mike McDaniel. So something to keep in mind. Noel's funny. Noel, you're very funny. Thanks for the donation, my friend. Not sure why we rush to learn to say Savaina's name. He just looks lost. Because we try to be polite and pronounce everybody's name correctly. But yeah, it's been rough. There's no other way to say it. It's been rough. Matt Fleming, again, thank you very much. P.S. This could be an ignorant X and O question. There is no such thing as ignorant X and O questions, only ignorant podcast hosts like Dante and I. Why classify bubbles passes behind the line as passes? They seem to be serving as running plays. No, would stats be true if they classified as runs? They are classified as runs if it's a backward pass. The shovel pass, for example, to me, and I would make the argument that shovel pass should be a run, but they call it a pass. And
yeah, I think the reason they do that is because they don't want to sit there and like make a judgment call on every shovel pass. I think that's why they do it. They just don't feel like it. That's my tinfoil hat.
But the shovel pass is always forward, so it's like
exactly.
But
right?
no, but I'm saying whether you just hand the ball off to the guy or you just float it in the air for him to grab.
Well, that's a pop pass. That's not a shovel pass. See, now we're getting into the minutia. If you just throw the ball straight up into the air, that's a pop pass. Is that a run or is that a pass?
It's a run. To me, there's like no. I mean, I remember Ryan Tannehill. The Dolphins were playing Oakland, and from their 15-yard line or their 25-yard line, he does one of those pop pass, whatever you want to call it. Albert Wilson comes across, goes 75 yards, and boom, it's a 75-yard touchdown pass on Ryan Tannehill's ledger for the game. I mean, it's like, come on.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying I think that's why they don't do it, because I don't think they feel like it. It's just much easier for them if every forward pass is a pass and everything that goes backwards is a run. Okay. I think that's why they do it.
Fair enough. Mandalorian, 5 depressed. Thank you very much for the donation. 5 depressed Welsh pounds. Thank the maker. My soccer team won this weekend. Well, there you go, soccer team. So not an entirely lost weekend. I like it. Avon Bergman, thank you very much for the donation. Is the season over? As fans, should we root for them to lose? The O-line is so bad. The O-line is not very good. I completely agree. Should we choose for them to lose? You're a fan. It's your call. Chances are they're not going to make the playoffs. However, they were 1-4 in 2016, and they did make the playoffs. So It's not impossible. Pardon me. It's not very likely. I get from a fan perspective, there's a major fatigue with the regime in place, and they would almost prefer almost losing out to get as high a draft pick as possible and to ensure that there's a change. I get that feeling. Is that really what we want? I don't know. That's for fans to decide.
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna hold my opinions on that until the record gets a little different. But it's still kind of early.
Yeah.
They're 1-4. It's not great. I'm not telling you I think this team's good or that they're going to be good anytime soon. I don't believe that, but it's still just a tad early, maybe.
Agree. Pardon me. Robert, thank you very much for the donation. Dolphins are the reverse image of the Hurricanes. Canes with monster lines in the trenches, which wins games and hides defects, a dumpster fire. No argument there. I will say this about the Hurricanes, though. They just do not finish games where they're comfortably ahead. They always allow the other team to hang in there. They did that against Notre Dame. They did that against Florida State the other night. It's like, can we step on the gas pedal? That's the Hurricanes. The Dolphins are right now, yes, they're a bit of a dumpster fire. Chris Drays, thank you very much for the kind donation. Everyone will say we didn't run the ball enough. I would disagree. They shut the run down. I think we should have passed more on first time. No argument here. They were not running the ball at all. Zero success there. Yes, they should have stuck to the passing game on a day when it was clear they were not running the ball. But again, the defense couldn't stop the Panthers when they needed to, and the Dolphins, even though they had scored the previous time when they had the ball with 3 minutes left or whatever it was, went 3 and out. No.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Dolphins is they have to have some threat of the running game, or teams are just going to sit on the bread and butter middle of the field concepts, and that's what happened. I think today we'll see what the film says, but that is ultimately a product of not having an honorable drop back passing game because you have limitations at certain positions. And
what positions might those be, Dante?
There's a few, but it starts with the quarterback, and it also does kind of go to the receiver room as well, and a little bit of the tight end room, even though Darren Waller has shown some nice things in recent weeks. But the Dolphins have one pitch in the passing game, and they that's all they have.
No, that's fair. And Tua is very, very good at what he does, but
he is.
But it's limited what he does because, again, he's got their physical limitations there. Les Palpalatok, I guess. Thank you very much for the donation. Why do the Dolphins draft a guard and play the rookie out of position? They drafted a college tackle and played him at guard. Is that what we're referring to? Jonas Avainaya?
I guess.
Because, I mean, they're not the only ones who saw him as an NFL guard. For example, Robert Hunt was a tackle at Louisiana Lafayette, or was it already on the University of Louisiana back then? And every NFL projection was he's going to be a very, very good NFL guard. And the Dolphins did use him a little bit at tackle as an emergency during his rookie year, became a full-time guard and became a very, very good guard. And I think that was sort of the idea with Jonas Avainaya. It's the same with Liam Eichenberg, and oh God, I can just see the comments right now. Why are you comparing anybody good to Liam Eichenberg? Liam Eichenberg was a very good college tackle at Notre Dame, and the projection kind of was that he'd be more of a guard in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think 32 out of 32 teams probably had Jonah as a guard, if I had to guess. So it takes time. He did play guard a little bit at Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, not in his final year. But I think before, if I remember correctly, I can look it up, but he's not out of position. I'm not going with that.
No, but right now it's
not looking good.
No. The Daddest Dad, respect to dads. Thank you very much for the donation. Looks like the Flores team, except cheaper and a worse defense. Oh, the Flores team, which Flores team? Are you talking about 2019? Because there were 3 Flores teams, and the 2020 team went 10-6. So I don't know which Flores teams we're talking about. I'm gonna guess Daddest Dad means the 2019 team. Well, the 2019 team was purely roster turnover all over the place. playing in the pure rebuild. That was a tank rebuilding. This is quote unquote a reset where they want to play some young players, but they're still we're shooting for a winning season / playoff appearance / playoff win, which is looking less and less likely. Oh, Matthew, you're going to hit us with a very tough question, aren't you? Thank you very much for another donation. It's very much appreciated. How do you judge Weaver at this point? Defense is obviously bad, but with a D-line this fundamentally broken, desperation run blitzing. I am curious if anyone could make it work. Thanks for the streams. Thank you for watching the streams. We wouldn't be doing it if fine folks like you, Matt, weren't watching, so much appreciated. It's very hard to judge Weaver terribly favorably because the results, are what the results are. I don't know that the personnel is necessarily high level. I don't think it's as bad as it's shown up so far. I think to me that's more on the players than on Weaver. Could anyone make it work? It's be kind of delusional for us to say nobody could make anything work with this group, but I don't know how many could. I don't know that it would be a very large number.
Yeah, this is a tough one because it kind of goes back to what we talked to at the top of the show where we were like, hey, this team on the defensive line has talented players, right? Like we've coming into the year, obviously, yes, injury concerns for sure, but Zach Sealer has been really good. Bradley Chubb is certainly talented. Jalen Phillips is certainly talented. Jordan Brooks is a talented linebacker. They got the most out of Tyrell Dotson at the end of last year. I mean, he's overall an average player, but they got the most out of him at the end of last year. And so I think Weaver, it's hard because I want to let Weaver off the hook because I do think that he has a good mind for the game and all of that. But at the same time, the unit's been awful. And ultimately, the buck stops with him. And so it's kind of hard. I can't let him off the hook at all. And I'm not. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like it's a mess. You have players who aren't playing up to their ability. You have young players who have honestly gotten worse, frankly, as the season has gone on. And you have a secondary that was pieced together at the last second in August. And so it's not good for anybody. It's not good for Weaver. It's not good for the players. It's an all-around failure, and that's the only way you give up 230 yards to Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, and then the other point, too, if you look at the defensive line heading into the season, and this was part of my issue, is Zach Sealer was really, really good the past 2 seasons. Okay, you move on from him. Matthew Butler is a guy who the Dolphins claimed off waivers this offseason. So obviously somebody thought he wasn't good enough for their 53, and that team, by the way, is the Raiders, who are 1-4. Benito Jones was a guy the Dolphins re-signed last year after he was a free agent. He became a free agent because the Detroit Lions didn't even bother tendering him as an RFA. So, again, whatever you get from him is, it's a bonus, but let's not pretend it's like a top-level defensive lineman. And then the rest of your guys are rookies. And a lot of rookies take time to get some seasoning before they make an impact. So immediately, was my issue with the defensive line in particular, and then you tack on the injury concerns with your edge defenders. What we have is I thought that the defensive personnel was massively overrated, and this is where we need to ask: did we underestimate exactly what Calais Campbell meant to this defensive line?
Probably.
Birthday salami again. Thank you very much, sir. Is it Lem's contract that he does not have to play right tackle? I understand the guard play is more of an issue, but Borum. Also, why is HN doing pass pro 2024 looks like 2023 compared to this? No, it's not in Lem's contract. He only plays right tackle. And again, this is one of those where, and this to me is an issue with the Dolphins, is they will always tell you the same thing. And it may be, again, we're not privy to their internal discussions, but publicly they will always tell you we have faith in our guys that they're going to continue to develop, which is why they've always spoken highly of Larry Borum, and he's doing what we ask of him, or whether it's the defensive line, because Mike McDaniel was asked about that. Anthony Weaver was asked about that, it was Mike McDaniel on Friday about the defensive line and whether there were any changes in the works. And he's like, no, we're confident this group is going to continue to progress. And this is maybe they're The Dolphins are optimistic to a fault with their own personnel, not recognizing where they have shortcomings. And it goes back to, you guys are a lot more concerned about the offensive line than we are. And
it always back to that.
But it applies to everywhere on the roster. It was the same thing with the cornerback position. It was kind of the same without using the same words, and they found decent solutions with Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones, who to me have been serviceable, if not better. But it's not like it's Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. Not that was in the cards. So, Mike Schoolcraft. Thank you very much for the donation, Mike. Would you be surprised to see Wilkins back in Aqua? Yes, I would be very surprised. Mike McDaniel was asked that very question on Friday as part of the discussion about the defensive line, and he said something to the effect of, we'll never close the door on anybody, and he was speaking for himself. I am more worried about the guys on our roster. First of all, is Wilkins is not ready to come back. That's number one. Number two, how much money is he going to want? Number three, I think the Dolphins are believers in the idea of not bringing in quote-unquote progress stoppers, and you bring in Christian Wilkins. Where does that leave Kenneth Grant?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I think that's the right decision. I do. I think it's the right call. If you want to reevaluate after the season, that's a different conversation. But right now, you got to let these young kids figure it out on the field. Taking Kenneth Grant off the field and telling him he's bad and we're replacing you for some guy off the street is not going to fix it. He's got to get in there and get the reps and get better.
I agree. And the last indication that we got from Wilkins is he was still dealing with a really nasty foot injury. He's also got the cloud hovering over him with his dispute with the Raiders as far as getting his money from them. So I don't know if if it's in the cards for him to play at all in 2025. I would be surprised if it was with the Dolphins. Randall Hasbrook, thank you very kindly for the donation. Do you guys both agree these offensive problems start with McDaniel's inability to adjust his play calling? No. The problems on the offense to me start with a lack of personnel in certain areas. And again, that includes, as Dante said before, everything.
I agree. I think it's tough because I don't think it's McDaniel's play calling, but McDaniel has a heavy influence on what the personnel looks like on the offense. And I think he deserves a lot of blame for the limitations that they have. I think that they have refused to diversify up front. They have refused to diversify in the wide receiver room. They have, for the most part, neglected the tight end position for the better part of 3 years. They finally invested in a big running back this year. Ollie Gordon's a rookie 6th-round pick who was not good at Oklahoma State last year. I still have high hopes for Ollie Gordon, but thinking that he was going to come in and all of a sudden just fix the running game, not great, not where you want to be. So if you want to blame Mike McDaniel for the offense's problems, blame his personnel decisions. I think that's where the blame lies, less in play calling.
Yeah, the team they built, and this started in 2022 when McDaniel arrived, and who knows how different it might have looked if the Kansas City Chiefs hadn't called and said, listen, you guys are interested in Tyreek Hill. Because once the Dolphins made the move with Tyreek Hill, if it wasn't already set in motion, they put everything in motion that this is going to be a track meet type of offense. And with a quarterback with certain limitations, but whose ability fit players with a ton of speed who could get open very quickly off the ball. And then the scheme also, dictates an offensive line that is more about mobility than physicality. And the offense is about speed, deception, misdirection, and all that. It's about fooling the defense. Where certain other teams, it's about attacking, downhill blocking, being more physical than your opponent. That's not the Dolphins' style at all. And it would behoove them to transition to whatever extent you want to transition, but from that style to more physical style. But that was tough to do when your 3 highest paid players, or 2 of the 3 highest, or Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Waddle. And you also have a quarterback who really cannot help you in the running game. It's not like you can go Philly style. Philly style, which prototypical for a lot of people. By the way, they lost today, so One more team for the 1972 Dolphins to cheer for. That's the Buffalo Bills. But they were limited in a certain way. I don't know how you transition from being the style of offense they've been 22-3-4 and flip it to become a team that's like really a run-oriented type of team.
You can't do it in one offseason. The problem that I have, and maybe I'm biased, I wrote a column at the end of the 2023 season when they got bounced in Kansas City, and I said that they need to diversify. That's the next step for this team. And they just did it for 2 straight years. And then they got punched in the mouth last year and had a bad year. And they went, oh, maybe we'll do that now. And it's too little too late. That to me is what happened in this era with this group of decision-making with offensive personnel. And I think you can make an argument it happened with the defensive personnel too. It's too little too late. They came in and they said, we're going to draft, a bunch of players that are 330 plus pounds. And we're finally going to sign a wide receiver who's taller than 6 feet. And we're going to trade for a tight end can run down the seam. Finally, we're going to do all these things. It's too little too late. You needed to do it earlier. This process takes time. You can't just flip and become a different team overnight. And the Dolphins had to do that. And they needed to start this process when they got bounced by Kansas City in that playoff game, because it was readily apparent that was the next step at that point. They could not compete with those teams in that way. You can keep you don't need to get rid of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to become a little bit more physical. You don't. Except
here's the thing though, when what happened with the Dolphins with that game, and to some degree it's accurate, but it didn't explain everything, is they went into that Kansas City game with a crap load of injuries at key spots, mostly on defense. And that team in 2023, I can't believe, unless I'm mistaken, I can't believe somebody actually argued the point with me during the summer, was wildly more talented than this team this year. And that 2023 team is the most talented team the Dolphins have fielded in many, many, many years. And again, they were 11-4 using that style of offense, except they couldn't beat the really good teams.
I was going to say, what did those 4 losses look like, though?
No,
they all looked the same for the most part, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, but except this is where they were, again, playing devil's advocate. They were up against Buffalo 14-7 at the end of 3 quarters, and that game turned on a punt return for a touchdown. And the Kansas City game, again, this is not necessarily me saying this. This is where I can tell you that the Dolphins maybe kind of fooled themselves into believing we're that close, because look, in Kansas City, we're playing basically inside a freezer that no team should ever play in, and that's why it eliminated our advantage. If we can play them in South Florida at Hard Rock Stadium in the playoffs, maybe it's a different story. And this is why in 2024 in the summer, you saw those extensions, which kind of, I don't know if that was the reason that set everything on a downhill slope, but this is where I'm telling you, I think the Dolphins thought of themselves as being a lot closer to the finish line than they actually were. And it brought me to when they opened the season, or was it Buffalo game 2 and on Amazon, and those guys there, Andrew Whitworth, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Richard Sherman, Tony Gonzalez, had a conference call, and I asked a question for them, just curious to get their thought on what are the limits to where the Dolphins can go with that style of play. And to a man, they all said, well, they have to get home field advantage. Okay, well, it's kind of tough to basically your entire, your whole level of success is dependent on you being able to play at home in the playoffs. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. We got a few more we're going to get through, and then because we're past the hour mark here. Casey Spivey, thank you very much for the donation. Thank you, Alan. I grew up with Dolphin Digest, still follow all of your content today. I truly appreciate your comprehensive, objective insight. Just wanted to say you're handsome and truly appreciate it. Dude, that deserves one of these. Thank you so very, very much. For those not familiar with Dolphin Digest, the publication devoted to the Miami Dolphins, which began in 1972. I joined Dolphin Digest in 1989, worked there through 2021. It's still going. You look it up online if you want to subscribe. But that was, a very big part of my career for many, many years. So thank you again, Casey. Matt, thank you very much. I'll be salty for a moment. Can someone tell McDaniel there is no bigger progress stopper than the unemployment line? Okay, that is indeed very, very salty. That is Sodium City right there.
Oh man, that's funny.
XS Sun, Chexess, thank you very much for the donation. If we want to get reps of the rookies, why not release Wilson, bench Tua to keep him from getting injured for a future trade, and start yours and officially kick off this rebuild? Dante, I'll let you take all the tough ones. Go ahead.
It's not a rebuild. It's not a rebuild in the mind of the people who are currently working at the Miami Dolphins. It might be for us. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I've already started watching quarterbacks for the 2026 class. I did it last week. So in my head, it's been a rebuild for a bit now, but it's not for the people who work there. They're not benching Tua. They're not worried about trying to keep him safe for a trade. They're worried about their jobs right now and trying to win as many football games as humanly possible. It's not going to happen. And thank God, because I have no desire to see Quinn Ewers take an NFL snap this year. So,
yep. Yeah. No, everything that Dante just said. Look, Mike McDaniel is fighting for his job. You really think he's going to bench players to make it easier for him to lose his job? Yeah, no, not happening. Let's see what we got here. Whoop. James, thank you very much, James. À tout le monde, à tous mes amis, je vous aime. Je dois partir. Team is cooked. Okay.
I got the last part.
It really says to everybody, to all my friends, I love you. I have to leave. Team is cooked. I hope you mean you have to leave Dolphin fandom. I hope that's where it extends, James. The team is cooked. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, but more than likely. But again, they made the playoffs after starting 1-4 in 2016. You never know, and at some point, things will turn around, and the team will enjoy some success. Just you gotta stick with it. So, Randall, thank you very much, Randall, for the donation. So much for the tight end being the next evolution of this offense, huh? Nobody like Kittle here in Miami for the last 4 years. An odd comment after Waller had 5 catches in the first half and a third touchdown in 2 games. Well, Kittle is Darren Waller is not like Kittle. Darren Waller is a glorified wide receiver, if we're going to be honest about it. He's like Mike Gesicki. He's a better Mike Gesicki. But no, it's not the same thing. It's not quite the same offense. And no, there's not been nobody like Kittle here for the past 4 years. So you can't use him like that. And does it really matter?
Yes.
Yes, it does matter.
To me, it does. Yeah, to me, it matters.
How many of those are there? And this is where the Dolphins absolutely could have drafted Tyler Warren, but the Dolphins went into the 2025 draft. They had holes at guard, defensive tackle, cornerback, tight end. Am I missing anything?
Probably just because safety, technically, at that time.
Safety. Okay, so
I'm not. Look, you don't need to have George Kittle. It doesn't have to be George Kittle. It just needs to be a tight end who weighs 250 plus pounds, can block, and also catch the ball like a little bit. Just spend like Julian Hill's a UDFA. Tanner Connor is a glorified transitioned college wide receiver to tight end.
Yep.
All I'm asking for is like a 3rd or a 4th round pick at tight end in the last 3 years. It didn't have to be last year. It could have been a couple of years ago. There was a bunch of them. The Lions took Sam Laporta in the 2nd round. You can get him. That's all I'm asking for. It doesn't need to be a $20 million contract or the number 13th overall pick and Tyler Warren. Just something. They just don't care about it. They haven't cared about it. They haven't taken a real swing at tight end since McDaniel got here.
No, but couldn't we call Darren Waller a swing at tight end? I mean,
that is not a real swing at tight end. That's a receiver that was retired that they traded nothing for. That is not a real swing at tight end. I'm sorry.
Okay, but the bottom line is they got production out of the tight end position today. Julian Hill sometimes is up and down as a blocker, but when he blocks well, you have that and you complement him with Darren Waller. I don't think that's not the biggest issue on this team. And
I didn't say it was the biggest issue. I said it mattered.
Okay, no, that's fair. And then to me would be, given all of their needs at 14, they needed a guy who was going to have the best career for the longest time. And regardless of at one of those positions, because they could have gotten good use out of any of those immediately. So we can't make the determination after 4 games, after 5 games, we'll know 3 years down the road whether Kenneth Grant was the right pick. It's just being that we're in a microwave society in 2025 right now, it's like very difficult to not look and go, oh, they had Tyler Warren sitting right there. They had Tyler Warren sitting right there.
Yeah, my frustration with tight end has been built up over years. It's not just a reflection of this past draft. I am not sitting here saying that Tyler Warren should have been the pick at 13. It's too early to say, for sure.
Okay, fair enough. Casey, again, thank you, Casey, very much for the donation. Very kind of you. If we're up to you guys, would you move on from Tua when possible or figure out a way to build around him and try and start over?
I'll let you take that one.
I'll take that one first. Casey, I've been very consistent in saying this. Tua is a good quarterback. He needs a lot of help around him, more so to a higher degree than other quarterbacks. This is where always I get the immediate pushback. Everybody needs help. Yes. He needs it to a higher degree than other quarterbacks. If everything around him is ideal, Tua is going to deliver the ball like a fabulous point guard. However, I've said this for a few years now. You're playing in a division that has Josh Allen. You should not settle for a quarterback who is good but not elite. So yes, when it makes sense for them to move on, yes, I will advocate moving on. Okay.
I have nothing to add. Yeah, I started watching 2026 quarterbacks last week.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. And we're going to wrap it up with Matt. Oh, thank you very much. Matt, what is Charles Clay up to these days? Joking. Hope you all have a good week. Charles Clay was for those that don't remember, he was a 2014, I want to say, 6th round pick out of Tulsa. Played like 5 different positions at Tulsa. The Dolphins used him as a tight end, H-back at times. So very, very good, solid player, especially as a 6th round pick. I think Mike McDaniel would love him in this offense because he's kind of Malik Washington-esque. Very tough, very smart. Can use him in a lot of different ways. And on that note, gang, that's going to wrap it up. We can an hour and 11 minutes over our promised time of 1 hour. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining us. We topped 500 folks on the live stream. Much appreciated. Please, again, as always, I ask, check out the website. Free content, free stories all day long. Miami Dolphins on SI.com. He is Dante Collinelli. You know me as Poop, maybe. Alain, whatever you want to say. Just don't call me late for dinner. You know how the joke goes. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will be back here tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.